On this segment, we take a look at a murder that occurred in 1993 here in Lumberton, Robson County, North Carolina. It was July of that year, and it involved the father of one of the world's most famous athletes. The crime shocked North Carolina, Robson County, the entire country, and in fact the entire world, especially those of us who are basketball fans. For the victim of that murder was James Jordan, the father of Michael Jordan. We'll take a look at the murder of James Jordan in this segment. James R. Jordan Sr. was a native of Wallace, a small town in eastern North Carolina. He married Dolores Peoples and served in the Air Force, stationed in Texas and Virginia, where their first son, Ronnie, was born. The Jordans moved to Brooklyn, New York in 1963 so James could study to be a mechanic under the GI Bill. Michael Jordan was born in New York on February 17, 1963. Eventually, the Jordans tired of big city life and the crime that came with it and returned to eastern North Carolina, settling in Wilmington. James Jordan was a bigger fan of baseball than basketball, and it was the first sport he taught his son Michael to play. But seeing his son's potential, James supported Michael's basketball pursuits when Michael led the University of North Carolina to a national championship and later the Chicago Bulls, where he became, in the opinion of many, the best all-around basketball player in NBA history and the most popular athlete in Chicago. How was James Jordan killed? Who killed him and why? Well, we do know this. On July 22, 1993, James Jordan attended the funeral of a former co-worker in Wilmington. He lived in Charlotte. He was returning to his home in Charlotte from Wilmington. It was late at night. He was here in Lumberton. He got tired. Some say he perhaps was a bit inebriated, but in any case, he decided to pull off on the side of the road and get some sleep. Now, it's a mystery as to why he didn't check into a nearby hotel only a few hundred yards away. No one knows. What is known is this: in the wee hours of July 23rd, his red Lexus parked on the side of the road here in Lumberton was seen by two 18-year-old Lumberton natives, Daniel Green and Larry Demery. Demery and Green approached them with the intention of stealing the car and perhaps dropping the driver off and taking his possessions. Instead, the robbery went wrong. As they were approaching the car, James Jordan woke up. He was shot once by one of the defendants with a .38 caliber pistol in the chest. As Larry Demery said at the trial, he said, "We stood by and watched for a minute or two and watched James Jordan die." Now, what happened next? The two defendants stole all his possessions, and they realized upon seeing an NBA championship ring, an NBA All-Star watch, and the strong family resemblance that James Jordan bore to Michael Jordan, that they had killed Michael Jordan's father. So what to do next? That takes us to the neighboring state of South Carolina, to a swamp. Thanks to his son's financial success and notoriety, James Jordan was eventually able to live a carefree lifestyle. James Jordan loved to gamble. He would leave home, often for weeks at a time, seldom if ever checking in with his family, to the point where they became accustomed to his prolonged absences. And that was the reason he was not reported missing until 3 weeks after he disappeared. 3 weeks after he disappeared, the Jordan family, unable to contact James, did not notify law enforcement in North Carolina, but instead charged Michael's security team to search for his father. It was not until after they received word that his car had been found vandalized and stripped in the woods near Fayetteville, North Carolina, that they filed a missing persons report. But even if they had acted more promptly, it would not have saved James Jordan's life. Well, now that James Jordan was dead, what to do next with the body? The killers had to dispose of the body. Larry Demery had worked in McCall, South Carolina previously, so he knew where to go. So with the body in the car, Green and Demery drove here to McCall, South Carolina, at a place called Gum Swamp, that you see right here, with a bridge overlooking the swamp. It was there in the middle of the night. Although it's a busy road now, it was abandoned then, or very quiet then. It was there in the middle of the night that the two killers took James Jordan's body and dumped it over the bridge into Gum Swamp. The body was discovered some weeks later by two fishermen with James Jordan's legs wrapped around a tree. It was impossible to determine who the person was or even if the person was old or young. All they knew was that it was an African-American male, and the body was so badly decomposed and no one came forward to claim the body. So, South Carolina authorities had no choice but to preserve the hands and the jaws of the body and had the rest of the body cremated. That was before his red Lexus was discovered in Cumberland County, North Carolina. So now there are 3 jurisdictions involved in the investigation of the case, although it took time for all 3 to put all 3 pieces together. Robeson County Sheriff's Department, the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department, and the authorities here in McCall, South Carolina. Daniel Green has always maintained that he did not kill James Jordan and that he was not present when Jordan was killed. He always maintained that he was contacted by his friend Larry Demery, who asked for his help in disposing of Jordan's body after he, Demery, had killed Mr. Jordan. However, according to WRAL News, upon searching Green's residence, Daniel pointed investigators to a patch of dirt by his great-grandmother's house. They dug up a ring, Michael Jordan's NBA ring. Just as damning was a rap music video cassette they found starring Daniel wearing James Jordan watch and an NBA ring. At Daniel Green's murder trial, Michael Jordan's brother Larry identified the jewelry as gifts from Michael to his father. The jury never heard the music video because the judge thought it too prejudicial. Still photos from the video were shown in court, but the rap video was leaked to the media. While Daniel Green admitted taking part in covering up James Jordan's murder, he denied being involved in the killing. Larry Demery testified that Green pulled the trigger that killed James Jordan, but according to WRAL, Daniel Green says he was at a cookout with his mother, sister, several friends, and a girlfriend named Bobby Joe Murillo. Multiple witnesses, including Bobby Joe, corroborate his story. But when the case went to trial, Daniel's defense didn't spend much time exploring Daniel's alibi and only called 2 witnesses. Bobby Joe, the girl Daniel was allegedly with that night, was not called by the defense to testify. Defense attorneys probably thinking the witnesses would not be seen as credible. Whether Daniel Green was at the scene when Jordan was killed is key to the case. But if Green was there, who pulled the trigger is irrelevant. The felony murder law in North Carolina says if a felony like a robbery is being committed and someone is killed, everyone who is present is equally culpable regardless of who pulled the trigger. So, if Larry and Daniel were both there at the time of the killing, they are equally responsible, though Daniel was tried and convicted as a triggerman. But there were questions. While a .38 caliber weapon was found at Green's residence, the actual murder weapon was never conclusively identified. Green stated that it was put there by Larry Demery, who sometimes stayed at that residence. Plus, where was the blood? Analysts testified that she thought there was blood in the car despite no confirmatory evidence. Others suggest that James Jordan's bleeding was mostly internal. While Larry Demery stated that Daniel Green pulled the trigger, appellate lawyers for Daniel Green, after conducting their own ballistics and trajectory test, concluded that it could not have happened the way Demery described it in court. In fact, Connie Brayboy, editor of a local Native American magazine called the Carolina Indian Voice, said that Demery, a fellow Lumbee Indian, admitted to her that he shot Jordan, something she did not reveal until 2015. Nevertheless, no appellate court has found enough evidence to overturn Daniel Green's conviction. Even if he did not pull the trigger, if he was present, and if he was a willing participant at the scene of the robbery, he was just as culpable as Larry Demery. As of this recording, both men remain in prison.
The reverberations of the James Jordan murder were heard literally throughout the world.
Through especially the sports world here in the United States. Michael Jordan was so traumatized by the death of his father that he prematurely retired from basketball to pursue a professional baseball career before returning to basketball. The reverberations were also felt here in North Carolina. Crime was such an acute problem in the state of North Carolina that Governor James Hunt convened the legislature to have a special session to discuss the problem of crime and justice in North Carolina. It wasn't all due to the James Jordan case. North Carolina experienced a rapid increase in reported crime in the past 4 or 5 years. But the James Jordan case was a catalyst for that special session, and it led to several reforms and several new measures introduced and signed into law in 1994 in North Carolina.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Crime Chronicles. As we delve into the darker side of human nature, we invite you to join us on our journey by liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Your support helps make possible our inquiry into the sometimes unsettling, but always fascinating phenomenon known as crime and justice. So hit that like and subscribe button right now and don't miss future episodes. Till then, Mark Jones, hoping you will join our Crime Chronicles community. And thanks for tuning in.